Hi everyone! Hi! I am just double checking to make sure everything is working okay. And yeah, so if you have trouble hearing me, make sure you let me know so that way I can do some troubleshooting. But I am Rebecca from ChemKnits, and I'm here today to do some live hand painting of Roving. And I thought that we would use some Kool-Aids and food coloring to make some really pretty colors. But I normally show, oh, thank you for letting me know you can hear me. I normally show a lot, I normally show a lot of the process in my dyeing videos, but today I'm actually gonna start from the beginning and like prep my surface and, I don't know, show maybe other little details that I might have left out. But yeah, so we can have some fun. So when I'm hand painting, I can't raise my camera any higher because then I can't charge it. But when I'm hand painting yarn, I usually will cover my work surface with some plastic wrap. And I have no real preference of brand or anything like that, but it both serves to protect the work surface that you use, and it can also then when it's time to set the color with heat, you can use it to wrap up your fiber in the microwave. And today I'm going to dye 200 grams of Roving. And I'm not trying for equal, like identical colorways or anything like that. I just have a lot of fiber I want to dye because I'm going to need to get spinning to help fulfill some of the rewards for the Kickstarter campaign, which is now, I think, over 70% funded. Last night I launched the Dyepot Weekly Kickstarter Campaign to fund the first 25 episodes of a weekly yarn dyeing series. And you guys have been awesome in supporting this project. And you can find the link in the chat if you want to check it out. But I really, really appreciate your support. And I'm also happy to answer any questions about that. I just updated the project and I have included some international shipping options to Canada, the UK, and some of the countries in the European Union. And initially I didn't include international shipping because it is really expensive, but a lot of you have been asking me about international shipping, so now if you go and try to select a pledge, you can select the country you're from and it'll tell you how much shipping would be to that country. But all of the rewards include, all the rewards included shipping throughout the US, but it's just, there can be a lot of variables and there's a lot of countries and each country has different shipping rates. So if your country isn't listed and you're interested in getting a physical reward, let me know and I can try to add it to the campaign. But yeah, I'm not sure. I know UK sometimes has import duties and I don't know how that works. That isn't included in the cost of shipping. I'm gonna do my best to work with you guys to figure everything out. But yeah, let me know if you have any other questions. You pay your duties. Yeah, I know from my sister-in-law that sometimes packages get held until you pay a duty. So I haven't really shipped. I've just shipped letters internationally so far. So this will be a learning process. Do I use Patreon? I don't right now. I actually hadn't even heard of Patreon until I was almost ready to go with the Kickstarter campaign. And that might be something that I explore in the future. I know that some people don't have credit cards that Kickstarter will accept. And so I'm sorry about that. But Kickstarter is kind of an all or nothing funding platform. So if I hit my goal, which it looks like we might do it, then your credit cards will be charged, but it's a one-time payment. Packages get held and you get a note telling us what to pay, and then you go and pay for your parcel. Okay. Yeah, so hopefully this will work, and I'm sorry international shipping is expensive, but I don't really have much control over that. So right now I've got, this is 100 grams of Roving, and I'm just lightly squeezing out some of this water. This is 100% wool, and I've pre-soaked it, well, a little longer than I would have liked. Normally 20, 30 minutes, an hour is sufficient, but I actually pre-soaked this for probably 2 days. I was hoping to just film a dyeing video recently, but I was busy setting up the Kickstarter launch. So, but yes, since we're going to use Kool-Aid today, I did not add any vinegar to this water bath. Sometimes if I was going to use just food coloring, then I might add vinegar to the pre-soak, so that way there's an acid source already here. But this Roving is the Peruvian Highland wool from Knit Picks. So I'm trying to treat it pretty gently, but I do want to press out a lot of the water. But I don't want to agitate it too much so it gets felted. But thankfully I've yet to get a felted mess from any of my dyeing experiments. I got pretty close when I tried dyeing with some wine, because I kind of boiled the yarn in there for a while. But even that, like in the ball winder, it wound up totally fine. It was just a little, I guess you would call it sticky, in the sense that the fibers were like, the strands of yarn within the skein were kind of sticking to one another. But yeah, so this is my little dollar store vat that I like to use for dyeing. And I also try to wear old clothes, which sometimes involves some pretty wild leggings or stuff, because a lot of times you don't see me on camera when I'm doing the dyeing. So I just made sure to wear a black shirt, because sometimes things spill or splash and then, well, I turn red. All right, so this is our fiber, and oh, maybe I should have mixed the dyes first, but oh well, if we splatter onto the fiber, I think that will be okay. Oh, was it the remain of wines that I was drinking for the wine dyed? There is a video on the channel, and no, it was a inexpensive bottle of wine that I guess is affectionately called $2 Chuck here in the US. I think it might be $3 now. I filmed it a couple years ago, and the resulting color was pretty brown, but I was curious because wine stains. So yes, so I'm wearing gloves today because I like to try to keep my skin toned and not Kool-Aid toned. These are the kind of gloves that I like, and I buy these nitrile gloves in just by the box because I go through a lot of them, but you can, use latex gloves or whatever you want. But in grad school, I was partial to the purple nitrile, so that's what I still purchase. All right, so I like to reuse clear cups when I'm dyeing with you guys, so that way you can see a bit of what's going on. And I'm just gonna add 1/3 cup of water to each of them. And into each of these cups, then I'll mix a packet of Kool-Aid, and then we might further modify the colors with some additional food coloring. And I might adjust the levels of water, if we want a brighter or paler color. Because ultimately, 1 packet of Kool-Aid in a 1/3 cup of water has a lot of citric acid in it. And you can dye yarn with 8 cups of water and 1 packet of Kool-Aid. So diluting these further won't affect the amount of acid enough to prohibit you dyeing the yarn. What it will do is if you add more water, you will dilute the color more, and so you won't get as bright and vibrant a color. I had hoped, whoops, gotta get out some forks. I had hoped to use some pink lemonade today, but unfortunately, I think I used it up in the video that I posted last week. So to get a pale pink, I'm gonna need to dilute the cherry food coloring. But I started out, when I started dyeing yarn and stuff, I started off using Kool-Aid because I did a fisherman's Afghan. Oh, so right now I just did some grape, and I also have some tropical punch, cherry, black cherry, ice blue, raspberry lemonade, and I even have a mystery color that maybe we'll open up. But back in grad school, I was doing a fisherman's Afghan and a sampler Afghan to teach myself how to do cables. And I had so much yarn because I thought I might do 30 squares instead of 20. And then I was like, what am I going to do with all this white yarn? So then I looked up, like, how can you dye yarn at home? And I found dyeing yarn with Kool-Aid. And I was like, oh, I can do that. So I went and bought some Kool-Aid, came home, and I guess the rest is history. And so now hopefully you guys are going out and getting food coloring, Kool-Aid, what have you, so that way you can dye your own yarn at home. I'm not sponsored by Kool-Aid or anything. It's just convenient, concentrated color. I do have a dye-in experiment where I took the Kool-Aid and I added the powder directly onto the wet roving. And it gave like a really shallow penetration of color and is really, actually a really pretty yarn. But it took a while for it to dissolve onto the fiber. But actually, even the spinning of that yarn is up on the channel. So that was a tropical punch. Let's do blue and green Kool-Aid is really hard to find. I actually purchased a bunch of, well, my old supermarket used to have the ice blue raspberry lemonade, but then I moved and I couldn't find it, and so now I bought it about a 20-pack on eBay because that was the easiest way for me to find it. But presumably, if you don't, oh look, I did, I guess there's some powder, so we've actually got some cool speckles that went across the roving. Ooh, I wish, I don't really want to try to mess up the cables, but it's really pretty. Normally, I mix the dyes, then I set up the fiber. So if you wanted to avoid a very light dusting, but, ooh, that's really, I mean, now the colors are starting to spread out, but that's actually really kind of pretty. Now I might want to maybe try using someone remind me, I want to use like a sugar duster to dust Kool-Aid across and see. We'll try that on yarn sometime, I think. Let's do the black cherry. But yeah, I don't think I've ever dyed yarn live. Ooh, a salt shaker might be too, like the holes might be too big. I think that I would want something that would help give you a light, even dusting. Because even just from the past dyeing experiment I did, even just, lightly shaking it over, you got some pretty big clumps. But when I spun the roving up, I got some really nice twists because there was the natural color mixed in with everything else. And so, well, actually, I wonder if this is gonna, I was just gonna ask if sprinkling Kool-Aid powder would make decent speckles. So check out the video. I've used Kool-Aid powder to make speckles by kind of doing like a concentrated paste on a plate and then dipping a fork in and dipping it onto yarn. And so there's a video on that with yarn as well. But I haven't tried to directly use dry powder to make cool specks, but now I want to try that. All right, so this is the mystery flavor. And I guess the spoiler alert is kind of on the back. I mean, when I got this, and I honestly don't know where I got it, my guess is that it would be blue because there's a blue picture. But sometimes I know that there are like mystery colors, and it's like, ooh, a surprise what color your drink is. So, but Mad Science Twists feels fairly appropriate for ChemKnits. But yeah, spoiler alert, it has a lot of colors in it. Whoa. Okay, can you guys, maybe you can't see in there. So when I look at this, I see a lot of blue powder, but then I see yellow, green, and red flecks. So I'll do this in this cup right here so we can see if it does anything crazy. I guess not. But I think that, I mean, not that I could find that color again, but I think that would be really cool spread out. Ooh, that smells really good. Not that I'm planning on drinking this, but that's a nice, okay, well, because now I'm curious. Let's just see. Okay, so that's a pretty bright blue, whereas, okay, actually those look pretty similar. You guys might be a little far back, but I just did a quick test. For whatever reason, the ice blue raspberry lemonade tends to look a little cloudy, but that doesn't really tend to affect the color that we get. And, all right, cherry is a pretty similar to tropical punch, but I think that I will add some. And let's see, let's actually make this 2/3 of a cup with the cherry. Is this actually live right now? Yes, I am actually live dyeing right now, which is why it's taking me a little longer to get going and to actually start, because a lot of times, believe it or not, and I know my videos can be rather long, there are things that I don't show and that I cut out, including like, yeah, some of this prep and setup, but I thought it'd be useful to show that. Is roving more sensitive to felting than spun yarn? Yes. Because if you think, like, if the fibers are spun, they're a little more protective. So it's harder to, like, pull them apart and catch on things. And so it would be a lot easier to felt this into a ball than it would yarn. All right. Now, I'm not really going to attempt to get, so I've got 2 skeins and 200 grams of fiber right here. And right now I've used, I guess, 6 packets of Kool-Aid, and I think I'm going to add some of the straight colors, and then maybe we'll add some food coloring to some of the stuff remaining to add and like change the colors a bit. But I'm not, if I wanted to get the roving identical, I would, you know, you could do just straight stripes along this, but I'm not super worried about that because that's not, I'm not trying to have like 2 skeins in like a same dye lot, I guess, even though I'm dyeing them at the same time. So I just wanted to have some fun. And so sometimes when I'm dyeing fiber, right now I'm just pouring. Sometimes I'll use like a little kid's medical syringe, or I might use eyedroppers or a bunch of different things to apply the dye, but it's a bit faster to just pour. And then after I pour, you might notice that I'm patting it out a bit to kind of spread the dye around. And so like the more liquid that you put with dye on a spot, the darker color you get, and the less, obviously, I guess the less color that you'd get in the end. But the reason why I wanted to squeeze out most of the water at the beginning is that I didn't want, if there's a lot of water in the fiber to begin with, then it's really hard to add color to it, because it will, it gets a lot harder to add the color, because then if there's already a lot of water, there's kind of all the color that you're trying to add will kind of squish out. And eek, just kind of wee. And since I looked at the comparison last time between cherry and this tropical punch, and they looked pretty indistinguishable to me, but today the tropical punch is more concentrated, and I will grab those sections in a second, but the tropical punch is more concentrated than the cherry Kool-Aid today. Oh, sorry, I don't know why my phone is buzzing. And so I was curious if we could really tell much of a difference, and so as I pour it, it certainly looked more red, but you know, the paler cherry isn't looking pink. It's still looking red, even if it's less, a less vibrant one. And I also usually keep paper towels handy. Any tips for getting more vibrant yellows when hand painting with Kool-Aid? Add food coloring to it. I think the only yellow Kool-Aid I'm aware of is lemonade, and it's a very pale color. So you could either use multiple packets and dissolve multiple packets into one volume of water, or you can supplement with some kind of liquid food coloring drops to get the color a bit more vibrant. All right, and this is our mystery blue. Oh man, I wish I knew where I found that and why I only got one, because blues, you know, if you're interested at all at dyeing with food coloring and you find blue, okay, this actually does, now that I've poured it on, it does look a little different than the ice blue raspberry lemonade, this cyan twist. But yeah, if you're in the Boston area and see any cool food colorings, let me know. Oh, no problem. I started off just dyeing with straight Kool-Aid and kind of mixing flavors a bit, but I couldn't get a nice purple, and purple's my favorite color, and so then I started, I found that I really like the McCormick's Neon food coloring. They have, the blue is like a brighter blue than from like the standard colors. Today I am hand painting 200 grams of 100% wool roving, and even though I said that I'm not going to worry about dye lots and being identical, I guess so far I have been keeping things pretty pretty regular across here. I guess it's easier while I'm talking. And I'm doing this in kind of a messy way. You can be way more precise about your stripes and colors, but given that this is yarn that I'm going to spin, I really like seeing the way that different colors mix up, and that's part of, I guess, the real fun for me. So, and I had pre-soaked, this is 100% wool. I pre-soaked it in just plain water, and really 20 to 30 minutes would be sufficient. I happened to let this go for 2 days because I got behind on my spinning attempts, but, or spinning, dyeing attempts. But, oh, this smells so good. Yeah, I found, when I started working with Kool-Aid, I found that it was pretty limited have another spin along? Yes, yes I will. I'm not sure if the next one will be from start to finish, but I'm actually running what color do I want now? Let's do some more cherry. I'm actually running a Kickstarter campaign right now to launch the first 25 episodes of a new series, which I'm calling Dyepot Weekly, where I will be publishing videos on a more consistent schedule. And in that, someone actually selected the reward where there's only one of these available, where not only will you sponsor a video and get to decide the kind of dyeing experiment I do in the video, but I'll dye 200 grams of roving and then spin it. I'll go live as part of the spinning of that yarn that's going to a particular backer. So I'm really excited someone picked that reward, because I think that that's going to be really fun. But there are a lot of different sponsorship levels that you can choose that will give you varying degrees of control over what happens in the video. And I think, well, I haven't checked in a little bit, but we were around 70% funded when I started. And so I am really excited about that. But, all right, I'm curious to see, and I have some extra cups here, and I'm just going to add a splash of water. I'm curious if I can get pink just from the cherry, which already started off pretty dilute. And, well, so you can see, even dilute, this isn't looking that pink to me. It's still, maybe on the yarn it will, but it still looks kind of orangish and red. Oh, thanks for the update. It still looks orangish and red. And so there's a reason why a lot of these food coloring companies have many different shades of red in their options. And so if you get, like at Wilton, I don't know, they have like their icing colors. It's half red, right? But let's see how this looks. Okay, this actually is looking more like pink lemonade on the yarn. And so this is just a fraction of the cherry, because I thought it would be kind of nice to get a paler section. And I haven't yet done a video where I've done serial dilutions, which I guess it's successive dilutions of a color to show how you can get a gradient with hand painting. But that's actually something that is on my list, and something that I hope to do on one of the first episodes of Dyepot Weekly. And I'm actually hoping to do some more live dyeing, because it's kind of fun hanging out with you guys as I'm doing this, even though it's making the dyeing itself take way longer. All right, oh, we could do some more purple. Grape, actually, let's boost up our grape. And, well, maybe not. I was gonna use some neon blue, but I guess in this package I don't have any right now, because that's one of my favorite colors and I used it up. So since I do not have the food coloring I wanted to use, let's add to the ice blue raspberry lemonade, let's add some of our grape to make a different purple shade. See, normally I would just cut and go find, I know I have more somewhere, but, oh, live. All right, this is still actually looking pretty gray. Yeah, the purple that comes with grape Kool-Aid is a very grayish purple. You can see it right here. Compared to Wilton's violet, which if you get solid, you get this really vibrant, vibrant violet color. I think it's because it uses the blue molecule that's in like a neon blue, which is more like this blue, and the grape uses, I think, more of like the blue that you would find in here, which maybe, yeah, why don't I mix? Why don't I do some more mixing? And I'll add, so I'll start with, I don't know, that's approximately 1/3 of a cup, I think, and I'll add some more of my cherry to give us some citric acid and some pink. And then I'll go ahead and add, oh funny, I really need to pay attention. So in this one I have blue, just blue and green. I know. So let's do 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 10 drops of blue food coloring. And you really don't need a ton of food coloring to dye yarn. Oh, funny. Wait till you guys see this. It looks a lot like, see this color that I just mixed using that blue? It looks a lot like the grape Kool-Aid. That is pretty fun. Yeah, and so if you want to test out when you're hand painting, if you want to test out the colors that you're mixing before just applying them to the roving like I am right here, you can, I sometimes will use a paper towel or even some acrylic yarn that you can't dye with these methods. I'll use that to just, it'll soak up the color so you can get a sense of what the color will do on white, even if it won't be permanent. Yay! Ooh. And so I like, all right, let's make this a bit redder. It's just so much fun mixing colors and, and so now with a little more blue added to the cherry, not that this is really a recipe for making these colors, but we have something that looks a lot more like the black cherry. And so, but you can see that mixing these colors is not giving us like a vibrant Wilton's Violet-esque purple. You can break grape Kool-Aid. It will break. It breaks, if you've seen some of my recent videos, it's a lot more similar to the way that McCormick's Black breaks because of the, it's got red number 40 versus red number 3. And so sometimes you can take advantage and use your, oh, you can't really see that edge, huh? Use the plastic, if I spill a little bit, I'll just move the plastic wrap over. So I'm amused because I said that I wasn't going to do the same colorway across, and that's basically what I've done. A gradient dye would be great to watch. Yeah, I think that would be fun. That's been something on the back of my mind for a while. Normally if I'm doing a gradient, I'll do dip dyeing. But dip dyeing with roving is actually a lot harder because it soaks up so much water and gets really heavy, and then I worry about it like stretching and stuff. So let's do, I have lost track about which color is which, but I think that that's okay. Let's do some more blue over here. And so I tend to favor, oh look, actually, over here you can see some breaking happen. You might be a little far away to see, but in this, with this purple that I mixed, some of the pink and blues are like wicking apart a bit. And so if you watch some of my other dyeing videos, I've got, when I was trying to create speckled roving using just like a Wilton's Violet mixture, there the breaking is so apparent because I don't think there's any purple left. You just see pink dots and then blue splotches. And so that was like a great, great example of how breaking works. Goodbye, cyan twist. Oops. And so if you're just joining, I am painting 200 grams of 100% wool roving with predominantly Kool-Aid. I have added a tiny bit of food coloring, but most of what is here is all just Kool-Aid packets. And so my acid source today is the citric acid that was within the Kool-Aid packets. And also, if you're just joining, I went live last night with a really big announcement. I just launched a Kickstarter campaign called Dyepot Weekly. And the goal of this is to raise money to help me buy the dye, yarn, and materials to kickstart the first 25 episodes of this Dyepot Weekly series. And I plan to do to explore a lot of food coloring based experiments, but I also want to branch out a bit and look at commercial acid dyes and maybe some natural dyes. I really want to play with indigo. I think that could be a lot of fun, and I've been getting a lot of questions about how dyeing with food coloring compares with dyeing with commercial acid dyes, and I can't answer that because I haven't done it. So with your help, I can start publishing on a really consistent level and bring you guys even more fun and exciting dyeing videos. But yeah, I also said before, dyeing yarn and fiber live is a lot of fun, and I hope to bring you guys some more of this in the future. In addition, with some more live spinning, because it was really fun to spin and hang out with you guys while I was spinning. But I always love getting your questions and comments, because that helps me, it inspires me so much for creating different videos. And for years I have a running list of like viewer requests and what do you want to see, and it might take a while sometimes because it might be further back on the queue, but I do try to make it happen. Have I spun yarn and then dyed it? No, but that's something else that I'd like to try. I did, this wasn't yarn that I spun. I have dyed someone else's hand spun yarn. It was a few years ago, there was a Kickstarter single breed yarns where someone was taking, instead of looking at yarn blends, she got, I would say, dozens of different sheep breeds and created mostly I think some 2-ply yarns out of this, mostly 2-ply yarns out of those breeds, and then she actually sent me some samples to dye, and so I just did a fairly quick, I don't remember if I did it on the stove top or what, but there is a video about it, and so I took a look at that. But I think that there could be some cool things that I could do with spinning and then dyeing, like maybe plying a hand spun singles with a cotton or silk thread, or maybe nylon thread, and then seeing how that takes up the dye differently, and if you could get some really cool contrast. Yeah. Sometimes, when I was filming my Kickstarter intro, I was like, thank you for dyeing, and then I was like, oh, what? And so maybe at some point I'll share an outtake video of me cracking up each time I forgot to say yarn or something. And so I'm dyeing yarn. Well, roving today, but yeah, that is what we're doing. So I think I started to say at one point, so I'm dyeing yarn or fiber with Kool-Aid today, but you don't have to use Kool-Aid. I'm sure that there are a lot of other drink mixes that you could use that would create fantastic and exciting colors. And so really it just requires some experimentation. But the nice thing about the Kool-Aid packets is because they come so small and concentrated with a lot of food coloring in them already, and that's why I think they're really popular to use, because it is just very like one pot shop and it smells good, and so yeah, it's a lot of fun. But I think that you can certainly explore other brands, because I know in a lot of countries Kool-Aid isn't something that's available, and cost-wise it is way more cost-effective to use liquid food coloring than it is Kool-Aid packets. because I think, oh gosh, off the top of my head, I don't know what I pay for one of these, but there's a lot more food coloring, understandably, in food coloring droppers. Does it say scented after you wash it? It can a bit. It depends, I think, on how vigorously it's been washed. I won't be showing the washing step today because I don't think we want to hang around for an hour or however long it takes for the fiber to cool after I microwave it. But sometimes there is some scent after washing, and just like other hand-painted yarns might still remain smelling like vinegar for a while after the fact. But yeah, so okay, I think this is some pretty fun colors. Gradient dye roving. Lay roving out and just color it slowly, starting out with the amount and keep adding along set time until you reach the end. Yeah. Definitely. Yeah, I think I also I like, if there's any other scientists watching, I like doing cereal dilutions, which would be, for example, if I started with one cup of dye and I mixed a packet of Kool-Aid into 1 cup. And then I took half a cup of this and added it to half a cup of water. And if I keep doing that, then you keep getting more and more dilute colors, which is a fun way to do a gradient. Because sometimes doubling the amount of dye doesn't necessarily, if you double the amount of dye, the transition actually is subtler than you might expect. All right, I think that I'm satisfied with these colors, and I've used up most of my food coloring. What color was this one? Oh, that's one of the purples. I think I'll just leave it behind. So sometimes I collect my leftover dyes into a pot, and then sometimes when I do some of those cake dyeing experiments, it starts off with like a lot of extra dye that I had from hand painting that I just mix together in a pot and kind of see what I can get. So that's pretty fun. Okay. Okay. I'll just set those over there. All right. So now that I have applied the color to the roving, I'm ready to wrap it up and microwave it. Now, if you don't have a microwave, you can also steam the fiber in like a steamer pot or something, but the microwave is really fast and pretty easy. So because I showed at the beginning of this video, I had covered the work surface with plastic wrap, so that makes this part pretty easy. Because I can wrap it up and you basically kind of get something that looks like a jelly roll. And so I just folded the plastic wrap over this edge and I'm just going to roll it up. So you can kind of see, I didn't show checking, sometimes I'll check within the fiber to make sure that the color is penetrated all the way through, but you can kind of see the color transitions as I roll this up. And so you'll notice I'm trying to be pretty delicate because I don't want, well, you could choose to squeeze it, but you might end up with some color mixing that maybe you didn't want. All right, and I was going to use a bowl, but this isn't as big as I thought. Maybe I'll try one of these bowls to put it in. And so when I microwave it, try not to get a mess of dye all over myself. Okay, you can see, all right, so I did actually end up squeezing it some. Oh, this kind of looks like some kind of insect. But it's really, really pretty. So right now it's pretty surrounded by plastic wrap. And sometimes if it's not that surrounded, you can cover it with some more plastic wrap. But I am basically just going to stick this in the microwave, and then I heat it on high in 2-minute increments. And Then I check to see, you want it to get really hot. So I check to see if it's like really hot to touch, and then frequently with my microwave, I will do another 2-minute interval after the first one. So 4 minutes of microwaving total, and then the fiber is really, really hot, and then the hardest part comes because you want to wait for the fiber to cool completely before you wash it. Because if it's hot and you start agitating it, you can end up with a felted mess. Think about putting a wool sweater in the washing machine and getting, a doll sweater out, because of the agitation and heat will cause the fibers to kind of will felt together. But you can find, so I won't today show the washing steps, but I'll tell you a little bit about it. I'll use fresh water. This is just the plain water I had pre-soaked it in. But I use a little bit of dish soap. Some people like to use even some hair conditioner to help keep the fibers soft, but I typically will just use some dish soap, and I will rinse it very gently. Like with Roving, I won't let the water run directly on it. I'll kind of let it run along the side of the container. I'll rinse the fibers until the rinse water is clear, because I don't want, you want to remove any excess dye, because you don't want to like dye your hands or anything as you're spinning. And then after that, with Roving, sometimes I'll even lay it on a towel and roll it up to kind of remove the excess water, or I'll kind of gently press to remove the water and then hang it up to dry. And, I guess I will either, that can take a couple days. So I can, I'll pop back on and show you guys once that's ready, but let's see. Oh, that's actually not that warm at all. My microwave I'm not a huge fan of my microwave. It's inconsistent. So when you're microwaving your own fiber, pay attention to, your own microwave. So if 2-minute intervals is too much, then maybe you can slow down. I have a feeling I'm going to need to do probably 6 or 8 minutes total for it to get warm. I saw another video use a salad spinner. Ooh. I don't know, it could come out a mess, but using the salad spinner, if you lay the Roving in it, it's not really necessarily going to agitate the fiber, because the fiber would all just stay. It might just spin water out of it. I think that, so I've never, I'm mostly, I do these dyeing things, and I am basically experimenting here at home. And so people who have stores and are dyeing fiber specifically to sell it might have some better recommendations than what I have, but maybe I need to try that out sometime. I will say that if you back the Dyepot Weekly Kickstarter project and are backing an experiment, and in your video I end up with a felted mess, that's not the yarn you'll get. You will get yarn that is knittable or Roving that is spinnable. If it is a felted mess, I will still share the video, but I will do a redo or something, so that way you can get yarn that you can knit with and stuff. Oh yeah, I guess I forgot to say that if you sponsor the videos, one of the perks is you get the yarn or Roving, or you can even pick a t-shirt. You get the item that I dyed in that video. And you'll get shout outs with within that video. This video was sponsored by, my good friend so-and-so, and I'll chat you up a bit in it. So let's see, what are we at, 4 minutes? Okay, it's starting to get warm at least. But yeah, and I'm just gonna check. Yeah, I have my computer over here, so that way I can see questions, because on the phone, yes, analytical chemistry, which I never took analytical chemistry in undergrad, but we certainly did some analytical chemistry stuff in other experiments. I'm bummed that you guys are asking a lot of really awesome questions, and it's too bad that these live comments don't stay once the video goes live, or once I'm no longer live and the video is available just on the ChemKnits Tutorials YouTube channel. You can't see these live comments anymore, and that's kind of a bummer. But man, this is fun. It's like, I mean, to an extent, I'm still talking to myself because I can't actually hear you guys, but you know, when I'm statically filming the video, I really am talking to myself. So it's fun to like get questions and stuff live as this is going. And yeah, I'm basically hanging out so that way I can tell you exactly how long I microwaved the fiber for. But hand painting is a lot of fun, and once I hosted a dyeing party. Okay, a yarn dyeing party, not a dyeing party. It's not that kind of, yeah. I hosted a yarn dyeing party, and we had a bunch of Kool-Aid, and my friends all came over, and I taught them how to hand paint yarn with Kool-Aid. But because the microwaving and the cooling takes so long, basically I showed them what I do, and then I took care of that for them, and then brought it, once the yarn was dry, I brought it to them at our crochet club. Because, yeah, I was like, all right, you guys don't need to hang out for hours while we wait for all this to cool. All right, so 6 minutes, and it is starting to feel pretty warm to touch, but I think I will go ahead and give it a full 8 minutes, because I want it to be warm enough for the colors to buy. Yeah, no, we didn't drink any of the Kool-Aid, but I prefer to use the Kool-Aid to color yarn, actually. I always use a salad spinner for both roving, wool locks, and yarn. Yeah, I think I might need to try that. I do have a salad spinner, so yeah, I guess, if I'm going to do that today, then maybe I don't know. Maybe I'll try that on camera. I haven't dyed wool locks before. I think those are so pretty, and I would actually be really worried about messing them up. Because like this, I mean, the shape, when I do roving, like the shape changes and stuff, but once you spin it, you still get something beautiful. But I think with the beautiful curly locks, I should get some and dye them to make like a little pom-pom on a hat or something. That would be a lot of fun. But yeah, you guys are so inspiring. I meant to have like a notepad here so I could like jot down ideas as I'm chatting with you guys. No pressure. Yeah, I know, but I like to try things, and I also like to try things for the first time on camera with you guys, because I think that it's kind of fun to see. Well, in one of the more recent videos, I went totally speechless, which amused me to no end. As I was editing, I was like, Rebecca, this is a long time without talking. You're doing stuff and you're not talking. And so I left it in because I thought it was funny that I had nothing to say, because I was just trying to process everything that was going on. And all right, okay, this is hot to touch, and I am very carefully, since I've got this bowl with a lip. Eek. Okay, do not spill hot dye. Do not spill hot dye, and I should have cleared a space. But you can see a lot of liquid came out. The bowl, I am pretty lucky this didn't go all over my microwave. There's a lot of liquid around here right now. And yeah, and you can see certainly there's food coloring in there, so that's stuff that didn't absorb to the wool. So I will be pretty interested, and I'll take a picture or something of when I unroll the jelly roll. Or gee, maybe I should film that when it finally cools off and I'm ready to unroll it. I guess we'll have to see, because I have to pick up the kids in a couple hours, and yeah, I might be doing this after bedtime tonight, because Lucas loves to dye yarn with me, but we haven't tried hand painting yet because I have a feeling that if we do some hand painting together, that we will do a lot of hand painting ourselves. But I do want to try doing that with him, doing some other dyeing techniques with him soon, because he gets a kick out of adding color to the yarn. And it smells so good. But the nice thing, so like this is really like, I mean, it's not hurting me. I can leave my hands on it, but it's definitely hot to touch. And so that's where I leave it, and use all the self-control you have to not move it and play with it until it is completely cool. And since it's wrapped up like this, it actually does take a while to cool down. Whereas if you still had it pretty loose in a steamer and you steamed it for 15-20 minutes or something, then that would cool down a lot faster because everything is a little more spread out. But I'm glad I used a bowl and not a plate, so I would have made a big mess. Yeah, do you guys have any other questions for me? Let me see if... you never use your salad spinner for salad. I have a, well, the garden's basically done now, but in the springtime, we plant a bunch of lettuce, and so we use the salad spinner a lot then, because you definitely want to wash, you definitely want to wash it, and so that's fun. But yeah, thank you guys for joining me with this, my first live fiber dyeing experience. I've done a live reveal before. What type of wool is my roving? It is 100% Peruvian Highland wool. It is the bare, I don't know if they call it wool of the Andes, but it's Knit Picks bare Peruvian Highland roving. It's the same fiber that's in the wool of the Andes and palette series. And yeah, I don't have one of the like casings here, but it's 100% wool. And this was 200 grams of fiber today. And yeah, is it really soft? Yeah, it's pretty soft and fluffy. I've spun with it a lot and dyed with it a fair amount, and so I like using it. Can I reuse the liquid? Yes. So here with hand painting, it's a little harder because you don't often get as much leftover liquid out of it, but this liquid right here, absolutely. You could save, it still has citric acid in it. You could add more dye to it and, divide it up, add a bunch more dye, and dye more fiber with it. And so if I'm doing like multiple skeins in a row, like I will use the same pot and just add more dye, and then once the dye has exhausted, I will maybe have to increase the volume a little bit, but you can keep reusing the same water. And yeah, thank you guys for joining me, and make sure you check out the Dyepot Weekly Kickstarter project. Your support will help me fund 25 awesome, exciting yarn dyeing episodes that will come out weekly. And they'll come out weekly, and yeah, I have some really, really exciting rewards, and there's now some international shipping options on some of the rewards, and I can't wait to see what we create together. And that question that just popped up, to make brown dye with Kool-Aid, I think that you would have to just play around with mixing the colors. I might try doing, some orange and blue. You'd have, and maybe some of the grape. You'd have to play around from it. Most brown and black food colorings have a little bit of all of the colors in them. Maybe orange and green. I would play around with it. I haven't gotten actually a lot of browns when I've been dyeing yarn, except for when I tried using actually brown food coloring or tea, or when I did the wine as dyeing. But I missed that. Yeah, oh, delphinium blue is a lot of fun. But yeah, so yeah, I mean, I knew it wasn't going to be cool, but I had to check again because I'm really excited to see it. And wow, we just actually hit exactly an hour now as I'm signing off. So thank you so much for joining me, and I'll share the link to the Kickstarter campaign. It's at the beginning of the chat, but I'll share it again, and I hope you guys check it out. Thank you guys so much for watching. Have a wonderful afternoon.